Good afternoon, good evening. I'm not too sure when you're taking the opportunity to log into this short video, but thank you for taking the time to view the contents of this video. I'll give a brief presentation and then I'm going to pass over to Mr. Bond, who is our new Head of Careers. Mr. Bond is extremely welcome to the school. He lives in Donaghcloney and comes to us from Belfast High School as a former Head of Careers and now our Head of Careers. He's extremely welcome to the school community. Normally, we would be meeting in person, and I'm sorry that that's not possible due to COVID. School's quite simply not the same when pupils are not in the building, and we miss them. And I personally miss them and can't wait to have pupils back in the school. But obviously, we have to adhere to the science and wait until it's safe to do so. In the coming weeks, your son and daughter, along with yourself, will make very important decisions about their GCSE pathways. And there are many pathways into the world of work and into the world of employment and into higher education and further education. And Mr. Bond will provide a brief overview of each of those routes in a few moments. It's extremely important to stress that we want you to be informed. And that's why we've put together this video. Alongside that, there's going to be a parent-teacher consultation. And within that parent-teacher consultation, an opportunity for you to talk to teachers to ask about their suitability for your son, daughter to progress to study GCSE in that particular subject. That parent-teacher subject consultation will take place on Wednesday, the 10th of March between 1:30 and 4 p.m. Further details will be published in the coming days, and that will allow you to book a slot, a 5-minute slot with individual teachers in a virtual environment online, and as I said, to talk to the individual teacher about subject progression and subject advice for GCSE study. In addition to this video and that parent-teacher consultation, we will also publish our usual booklets and option choice forms that will help inform you and inform your child. Could I stress that this is an opportune time for your son and daughter to get online and take the information that is available, widely available from universities, from the world of work, and extrapolate backwards to realize what courses, what actions do I need to take now that will help keep my options open for different career paths that I'm considering. And my advice is to keep options open at this time in their lives. As they progress through to GCSE, there's plenty of time to make final decisions, but it's important they start to glean that information. They start to listen to the advice and guidance. But, and I will repeat this in a moment, they need to make decisions. And we are here to help them. And I would encourage parents to help them, but it is your son, daughter's decision and son, daughter's choice. So why should you study a particular subject for GCSE? Firstly, it's a prerequisite. You need it. It's a requirement for A-level study or level 3 study or university in the future, or indeed for the world of work. So you need it. It's a requirement. The second, I'm good at it. And can I reinforce that? Your son, daughter is good at it, because your son, daughter is the one that's going to study it, not their friend. They may not have that particular teacher that they've had throughout junior school. So it's not because it's a favorite teacher or their friends studying it or mom, dad studied it or mom, dad think they should study it. It's what your son, daughter believes. And finally, they like it for exactly the same reasons. They're going to study it. They're going to have to work hard. So it's really important as we return hopefully to a post-COVID world next year, that they have the opportunity in a normal world, in exams, to perform, in a normal world to enjoy the course of study so that they can perform well, because we want them to get good grades at the end of 2 years that give them options and choices to progress to the next stage of their lives. And in many cases that will be A-level study. In other cases it will be level 3 further education study. But it's extremely important that they have choices and options. So in summary, it's a prerequisite. They need it, they're good at it, and they enjoy it. Not, as I said, because their friend's doing it or a particular teacher. Teachers are assigned to classes on the basis of timetable need and the curriculum. We never have picked individual teachers for individual pupils, and we never could. It's not possible to do so. Mr. Bond will go through all of that in much more detail. But in conclusion, can I say a big thank you to all of our parents for all of your efforts. Over the past few weeks and indeed months and maybe even the past year, it has been an extremely difficult time for everyone, personally and professionally. Can I commend you, the parents, for all of your efforts in supporting our young people. At school, we're trying our best and we continue to deliver remote learning of the highest possible quality. We thank you for the support you give to your young people, our young people in our community, your son and daughter. We thank you for the efforts because we know it's not easy. And can I take this opportunity as well to thank your son and daughter? They're doing a tremendous job in keeping up to date and following the guidance and all the teaching and learning that's being provided, mostly in Google Meet and in Google Classroom. And I can have nothing but praise for our young people and what they've done in these most unique of times. So please take a well done, congratulations, and thank you for the support that you've given to the school, and thank you for the support that you give to your son and daughter. I look forward to seeing them in the near future, and I hope you enjoy the presentation from Mr. Bond, and as I said, the parent-teacher consultation on Wednesday, the 10th of March, 1:30 to 4 p.m, and further details will follow. I now pass you over to Mr. Bond for his presentation regarding GCSE option choices. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. Thank you for tuning in to take time to listen to this presentation. My name, as Mr. McLaughlin said, is Mr. Bond, the new Head of Careers here in Banbridge Academy, and I'm delighted to have started here. And in this presentation, I simply want to talk to you about your GCSE subject choices. You're now at a career milestone. Your child is at a career milestone where they're making decisions which are going to narrow their focus to an extent, decisions which are going to take them in a different direction. If I can use the metaphor of the train tracks there, your children are at a junction point, at the switching point, where they will go on to pursue a particular track. So I want to take some time today to talk to you about the different options that are available and just to highlight the different implications and ramifications of what those options might have. I want to begin by talking through something called the career cycle or the career management cycle. This is a graphic which is used in careers theory circles, and I find it very useful in explaining to young people how they can manage their career. For our Year 10s at the minute, they've spent a couple of years now in Banbridge Academy in a period of transition and reflection, making the change from the primary school environment to the secondary or grammar school environment, and really understanding what that means for them, trying out new subjects, experiencing new things from an extracurricular perspective as well. And hopefully by now, our Year 10 pupils are in a position where they are ready to begin thinking about the next transition stage in their career. And so in this video, what I want to do is talk about that idea of a decision-making approach. I want to talk about how pupils can be self-aware. I want to talk about the opportunities that are out there in the different subject choices, and in doing all that, I want to help them to reach the point of decision. And you'll know that the subject choices for GCSEs are due in by the 19th of March. So that's really what we're aiming for. So what are GCSEs and why are they important? Well, GCSEs are a gateway qualification. They are a qualification which are nationally recognised, and of course they permit you to move on to a new stage of education, whether that's A-levels, whether it's further education, whether indeed it's employment. It's the first rung on the ladder to a career beyond school. You'll know that many employers and further education and higher education providers will have minimum requirements for GCSEs, usually that C in English and Maths, but often much more than that. And of course, GCSEs do allow that first narrowing of the focus because pupils will be studying in greater depth, which means a reduced time on each, a reduced spectrum rather, of subject choices. This little graphic here can be found in the NI Skills Barometer, and certainly if you're interested in the future labour market trends in Northern Ireland and the skills which are desirable for the future, do take a look at that document. It's easily accessible through a quick Google search, NI Skills Barometer, and simply put, what that graphic indicates there is the principle that the more you learn, the more you earn. And so it's worth, even now at this stage in year 10, thinking about how that ladder is going to look for you. To what level will you hope to ascend on that ladder? What do you hope to achieve out of your GCSE subject choices? So on to the choice process. What must you study? There are certain core subjects, if you'll permit me a visual pun. Core subjects: mathematics, English, English literature, balanced science, and I'll talk about that more in a little second, and religious studies short course. More information about each of those subjects is available from the subject teachers, but those are the core subjects. Of course, maths and English are your core requirements. As I said before, your C in those two subjects will be an absolute essential for whenever you finish year 12. But the other subjects too are there as part of the Key Stage 4 curriculum. They're required by government, and so we offer them as core subjects in Banbridge Academy. And that moves me on to what you can choose. What are the choices available to pupils in Banbridge Academy? Well, there are some, if I can call these, mandatory options. The first of those is whether you're going to study one language, two languages, or a practical subject. One language, two languages, or a practical subject. Now, those options are listed in the online form, which has been out for consultation in the past few weeks, and of course they'll be reiterated in the final subject choice form, which will be issued shortly. The other mandatory option is whether you choose double award science or 3 sciences, and I'll chat a bit more about that on the next slide. So there are some things you have to do. You have to make a science choice, and you have to make a choice between 1, 2 languages or that practical option. And do see the GCSE subject choice booklet for more information on that. Otherwise, down the right hand side of our screen here, we have a list of all of the optional subjects which are available to you. And I'm just going to flick through these and list them all on the screen and pause where I see yellow to give you a bit more information. Moving Image Arts is a new subject which is available at GCSE, and by new I mean pupils will not have studied it in years 8, 9 and 10. Likewise, road vehicle and road user studies, again physical education. Business studies is a new subject at GCSE, as is computer science, as is economics. Food and nutrition, digital technology, and so what's important about those subjects in yellow, those new subjects, is that your child is fully aware of what those subjects involve. And if you check the Careers Google Classroom, the Year 10 Careers Google Classroom, you'll find information which is provided by the heads of department of those subjects on exactly what those subjects entail, the topics studied, the modes of assessment, and what is required of pupils when they take those subjects. So it's definitely worthwhile investigating there. It's definitely worthwhile having a chat to those teachers at the consultation, at the subject advice briefings on the 10th of March, because those could well be subjects that your child could enjoy taking despite having had no prior experience. So before I move on, just a word on double award versus separate sciences, and this information has been very helpfully provided by the science department. So all students will study all 3 sciences. Okay, that's very important that we make that clear. Okay, biology, chemistry, and physics will all be studied, whether you take double award or separate sciences. However, if you wish to study A-level sciences, it is advised that you take triple award, because triple award has a greater breadth of detail and probably prepares you a bit more thoroughly for taking A-level science. That said, double award is also a perfectly good foundation for A-level sciences. It's a fine distinction, but an important one to make. That double award is perfectly adequate. Don't feel that if you've taken double award that you're ruled out of A-level science. But if you're sure at this stage, if you're someone who is definitely going down the science route, and you know that science is an A-level choice for you, you might be doing yourself a favour by taking triple award science, by taking the 3 separate sciences, I should say. Double award, however, allows greater flexibility. So by taking double award, you're allowing yourself the flexibility to either take a science at A-level, or perhaps over the next 2 years, your child might find that science is not for them and they want to go off in a different direction. Double award allows you the chance to explore other options. So it's worth thinking carefully about. That said, further mathematics is very beneficial for physics. Certainly at A-level, if you were to take further mathematics at GCSE, you would certainly be well equipped for physics. And it's recommended that students complete Module 4 and Module 8 in Maths if they want to study the sciences at A-level. And if you want more detail on that, obviously it's worth talking to the head of Maths about that, or indeed the head of science if you want information about how those interact. One thing I would clarify as well at this stage too, which I should have clarified in the previous slide, is simply that if you want to take Maths at A-level, further Maths at GCSE is very, very strongly recommended. Again, it's worth looking at the subject criteria for A-level, and you'll see that further Maths at GCSE is very, very strongly recommended if you wish to study A-level Maths. And to take that a step further, if you wish to study engineering at university, for example, you will need A-level Maths. Therefore, that feeds back into GCSE further mathematics. So it's very important, even at this stage in Year 10, to think about the ramifications of your subject choices. And this little graphic here is available in the Google Classroom, so I know that my screen in the corner is cutting off the corner of that. But the point that that table is making is that there is a distinction between double award and triple award, and yet at the same time, both do prepare you adequately for A-level science. So moving on then, how do you choose? How can your child make a choice when there seems like there are so many options available? Well, they shouldn't do it because their friends are doing it. We all know that in the teenage years, friendships can be fraught, and your friends this year may well not be your friends next year. So don't rely on that for making your subject decision. Don't do it based on the teacher. No matter how much you like the teacher, your teacher may not be your teacher next year. You may well get a different teacher next year for the subject, and so that should not influence your decision. Thirdly, some people say it's easy, and again, it's worth noting that you have to be aware of who's saying it's easy. You might think that a subject has a reputation for being easy, but that reputation may well come from people who have found it easy. You may well not find it easy if you pick it up. So don't do it based on the reputation that a subject may have. Do it based on the following. And this diagram is in your subject choice booklet. Firstly, what do you need for your chosen career? Secondly, what are you good at? Thirdly, what do you enjoy? And then combining those things, what will you succeed at? And so, thinking about the future then, before I move into those 3 or 4 criteria in a bit more detail, just want to show you a couple more graphics, again from the NI Skills Barometer, which is quite a useful document if you're unsure about your child's career path and future. What this document does is it harnesses labour market information in order to try and make predictions about the economy and the labour market over the next 10 years or thereabouts. And the current document goes up as far as 2028. And so you'll see from the graphic on the right of the screen that IT and the sciences features heavily, as does the manufacturing sector. Again, if you look at the graphic on the left-hand side of the screen, the subjects that are in demand are the STEM subjects. However, that is not to say that everybody in Banbridge Academy should be piling into the sciences in order to come out in 10 years' time with a successful career. Because, as we know, we're not all gifted that way. Myself, as an English teacher and a history teacher, certainly science is not necessarily something which I would have succeeded in. And if you look carefully at these diagrams again, there will be a place in the future labour market for people with arts degrees, for people with degrees in media, for people with degrees in business and marketing. So there is a place for everyone, and it's important that you consider carefully where your child fits into that scheme. This document is useful, but it's not the be-all and end-all. It's not a compass which you should necessarily follow. The individual child is the most important thing. So, moving on. Number one, what do you need for your chosen career? Well, there are two very obvious distinctions to make when we're talking about what you need for your career. Number one is careers in the scientific and medical fields, particularly the medical field. And it's worth considering that even now in year 10, you should be with your child looking at university options and looking at university entry requirements. If you want to study medicine, dentistry, veterinary medicine, then chemistry and biology will be essential subjects for you. That may mean taking on triple award science at this stage, although as I mentioned before, that's not definitely the case, but certainly if you are now sure that you want to go down that medical route, that may well influence your decision. Equally, the engineering sector. Engineering degrees often require maths and physics. Almost always they will require maths, and so again, thinking backwards, to get into A-level maths, you will need to take further mathematics at GCSE, and that's therefore going to influence your GCSE choices. If you're sure you want to go down that engineering route, be very careful about not ruling yourself out of A-level maths. Again, on the engineering front, some of the most competitive engineering courses will ask for maths, further maths at A-level, and physics as well. So physics is certainly a complementary subject if you want to study engineering. Beyond that, however, what you'll find is when you look at university entrance criteria, they are wide open. I think of a subject like law, for example. Many people make the assumption that to study law, you need to have studied history or English or politics or one of the written subjects. What I would say is, while that's not a requirement, you might find that they're useful subjects. So you got to think about the difference between essential and useful. And so that brings me on to the next point. What are you good at? What is your child good at? We all might have had dreams when we were 13, 14 years old of what we wanted to do. I certainly had a dream about being a pathologist way back in the mid-1990s or early 2000s, whenever that was. But you know what? Maybe the sciences weren't for me, okay? And maybe that dream was just that, a dream inspired by a TV show, which it was. And so there's no point in flogging a dead horse. Rather, what we want to encourage students to do at GCSE and then further on at A-level is to flourish in what they're good at, to water the seed that is already there, so to speak. And so think very carefully about what your child is good at. Look back at their previous reports, talk to them about how they feel about their subject, whether they feel that they're good at it. Certainly attitude is sometimes as important as performance. And it's very important that that is an influencing decision. Again, there's no point in going down one particular route if it's not something which has been working well for you. Secondly, what do you enjoy? Just got a little quotation here from Steve Jobs, and I've used a non-Apple logo just so that we're copyright protected. What do you enjoy? Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Now, of course, we don't love every single second of every single day in our jobs, but many of us get at least a degree of satisfaction from our jobs, and that's the same in school, okay? Your child needs to think about which subjects they're going to enjoy, because whenever they're going through the daily grind, the weekly grind of sitting in class, getting homeworks, completing essays, completing assignments, sometimes it's the enjoyment of that which actually keeps them going. To flip the coin, if you really can't stand the subject, if you feel like it's just the worst subject in the world, no matter how good the career prospect might be, no matter how juicy the carrot might be, actually if you don't enjoy it, you're going to find it hard to do well on that subject. So enjoyment is a very important factor to take into account. And so when we put those together, what you want to think about is the best outcomes. Now, I've got a picture here of an exam hall. Not too many exam halls this year. But what I've put on the screen there is 4 Bs, 3 Cs. But the most important thing is that we say that that is at least the requirement. That is the requirement to get back into sixth form at Banbridge Academy. But that is a minimum requirement, and let me assure you that we will look after our GCSE pupils this year, that the vast majority of our pupils in Banbridge Academy are capable of much, much higher grades than that. That is simply the lowest hurdle which you must get over. And so what we want to see is pupils in Year 10 choosing GCSE subjects which are going to get them those A star and B grades in their GCSEs in 2 years' time. So while that is, while that is a minimum benchmark, we want to see Year 10 pupils thrive, as I said before. So think about the best outcome for your child. And so how can we answer those questions? How do we know what's essential? How do we know what we're good at? How do we know what we enjoy? Well, there's a number of things we can do. First of all, I'd encourage you to talk to your child. I'd encourage you to have those conversations. Gather around the screen, as we all do in these days. Look at the university websites, look at school reports, talk to family friends, talk to those in particular career professions who are able to provide advice on particular subjects and particular routes. If you look at the careers classroom for Year 10, it is being populated every couple of days with new material. Keep your eye out for material posted there on a wide range of things. But in particular, those new subjects. The new subject teachers have posted videos and other information there which Year 10 pupils can look at. Do keep an eye on other subjects' career classrooms too, other subjects' classrooms I should say, from every department. Every department is providing information about what their subject entails at GCSE, so pay close attention to those as well. Zello is a new tool which is being used in schools across Northern Ireland. It's very useful for its provision in terms of information about universities, about job roles, but it's also got lots of tools which students can use to assess what they're good at, to assess what they enjoy, to assess what their values are in helping them to make those important career decisions. And then, of course, talk to teachers. I'm, of course, very happy to talk to pupils or parents anytime about any questions you may have about subject choices or the ramifications of subject choices. So do get in touch if you have any questions. So taking all that into account, I think Year 10 pupils should be well equipped to make good decisions and wise decisions this year, and I wish you all the best in helping your children to do that. So what next? Well, as Mr. McLaughlin has alluded to, there will be a parent-teacher and subject advice meeting on the 10th of March, whenever more information will be available, and it'll be available that day as well. Option forms will be distributed very shortly as well, with the final option boxes available for you to make your selections from. And of course, we're looking for final submissions to be made by the 19th of March, and that will allow us to prepare the timetable and curriculum for next year. So I hope you found that helpful as you help your child to prepare for this junction in the railway, and thank you for watching again. And as I say, if you have any questions, do get in touch. Thank you.